Headed to SoFi Stadium? Ride the Culver City Bus Line 99, the SoFi Express. Just $2 base fare for a round trip from Westfield, Culver City on weekend game days. We're hiring too. Learn more at culvercitybus.com or call 310-253-6500.
Good afternoon. Getting right down to business here. We're doing it live, doing more at 4 weekday afternoons, right after Guy Benson. And just before the 790 KBC News Blitz with Randy Wang at 5, Mottek On Money. Live on the air, 790 KBC, streaming live online worldwide at kbc.com. And, of course, the on-demand Mottek On Money podcast, kbc.com, Apple iTunes, YouTube, all of your favorite podcast platforms. Mixed finish to a winning week, an eventful week on Wall Street in anticipation of the Fed lowering short-term interest rates. That's expected next week. The NASDAQ, the star of the show today, rallying to an all-time high, up another 98 points to settle at 22,141, notching its fifth consecutive record as Tesla hit a 7-month high. Tesla suddenly coming to life here, moving up by $27 and change to $395 and change, putting Elon Musk firmly back in the driver's seat as the wealthiest person in the world. That was challenged earlier this week by Oracle's founder, Larry Ellison, who briefly touched the top spot with Oracle stock rallying. But that stock pulled back over the past couple of days here, down about $16 today at $292 and change, knocking Larry Ellison a bit farther down the list of the world's wealthiest people. The Dow, meanwhile, gained 1% for the 5 trading sessions through Friday, closing down today 274 points, coming off its all-time high. The S&P 500 down 3 at 65.84, also slightly off its record high. Looks like the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ showing their best showing since early August. Investors taking in a lot of economic reports lately, as you've been hearing on this program, certainly. Over the last week, the latest job signals showed about 20,000 jobs added last month, and weekly initial jobless claims surged to a nearly 4-year high. Meanwhile, inflation is stubborn, with the Consumer Price Index rising last month amid more signs that the president's tariffs are indeed filtering their way into the general economy. We also got a new reading on consumer confidence today, showing consumer confidence slipped more than expected in the month of September, and long-running inflation expectations moved to 3.9% as consumers worried about the effects of tariffs. Investors now betting inflation is tame enough for the Fed to cut next week, and it's widely expected now that, in fact, traders are pricing in a more than 90% chance of a quarter-point cut when the Fed holds its 2-day policy-setting meeting next week. Beyond that, around 75% are betting the Fed will cut the equivalent of 3 times before the end of the year. Some folks think we might even get a 0.5% rate cut next week. We'll talk more about that here coming up shortly. IPOs have been popping. In fact, IPO pops are nearing a 10-year high. We did see tech unicorn Figma pricing its shares at $33 recently. That stock pulling back today, down nearly $3 at 53 and change. Circle priced its IPO at $31 and got a pop. We'll take a look at the Circle shares pulling back today by more than $8 at $125 and change after a big run-up. Shares of Gemini space station today in focus, the cryptocurrency exchange founded by the billionaire Winklevoss twins to bring cryptocurrencies into the market, soared in their public debut today. The stock's first trade was 37 and change, 37.01 to be precise, which was 32.2% above the price on the initial public offering. The shares moved above $40 and ended the day at $32 a share at the closing bell. I'll talk crypto this hour with crypto expert Eleanor Terrett, business journalist and co-host of the Crypto in America podcast. We did see Bitcoin and other cryptos rise today. Bitcoin right now hovering above 116,000. Should be an interesting week ahead with the Fed in focus. A 2-day Fed policy setting meeting that'll wrap up Wednesday with a decision on interest rates, a statement on the economy, and a news conference by Fed Chairman Jerome Powell. I'll discuss that and the tariff drama that's going on all the way to the Supreme Court, it looks like. Grover Norquist will be with me, president of Americans for Tax Reform. He'll be joining us live later this hour. But first, on your money, the markets, the economy, this record-shattering week on Wall Street. Joining me live now is Jonathan Hoenig, Fox News and Fox Business Channel contributor, portfolio manager at Capitalist Pig Hedge Fund, author of the book, Price is Primary, How to Profit with Any Asset in Any Market at Any Time. Jonathan Hoenig, thank you very much for taking the call here this afternoon.
Frank, it's my pleasure to be with you, although I must admit, despite the records on Wall Street and much to celebrate with our tremendous economy and these incredible companies that innovate, it's a solemn week, I think, in Wall Street in America. I mean, given the death of the young lady on the subway, not to mention conservative commentator and provocateur Charlie Kirk. Money is fungible, as you know, Frank. It's interchangeable, but human beings are not. So I know many investors of all different socioeconomic strata that are a little solemn this week, given the terrible tragedy and events that had unfolded.
You're absolutely right. And, of course, we had the commemoration of the 24th anniversary of 9/11 yesterday, adding to the somber mood this week, too. So thanks for mentioning that, and you're absolutely right. So let's take a sober look here at what just happened. In the face of all of this, the market mercifully has held up, despite a lot of uncertainty still on the tariff front, especially, and some hotter than expected readings on inflation, disappointing readings on jobs, which ironically was taken as good news on Wall Street, with record highs across the board earlier this week, and only a slight pullback today for the Dow and the S&P 500, and tech stocks rallying to all-time highs.
And some stunning rallies, Frank. I mean, you saw Oracle, which is a tech name, but kind of has a reputation of somewhat more of a sleepier tech name, have its best day since 1992. That stock was up upwards of 30% this week to a new all-time high. So, I have to say, much to my surprise, the AI and the technology trade is still very much alive in the market, despite the fact that in the first half of the year, it was really the international names. It was value. It was small cap. And that still is where I'm looking for some action, looking for some opportunities. But, this market, the resilience of this market, I think it's a great testament to the American worker, the American CEO, the American business, which continues to innovate. You mentioned some of the IPOs this week, Frank, and that's a great indicator that there is a market for new ideas, new innovations, new products, new hiring, and we saw some tough hiring news this week. So I'm encouraged by new all-time highs in the market as an indicator that the economy, although down, is not out.
On there live with Jonathan Honig, Fox News contributor, and also portfolio manager at Capitalist Pig Hedge Fund. What a week the head of Oracle has had, Larry Ellison. He gained, $100 billion in one day. That's never been seen before. We had Steve Forbes on the show earlier this week and never seen anything like that. Briefly overtaking, believe it or not, Elon Musk on the top spot of the wealthiest persons in the world. And it looks like Larry Ellison has moved down the list now, with the Oracle stock pulling back the last couple of days. But Tesla is on a roll, and Elon Musk now back securely at that top spot. What about the rally in Tesla that we saw here today?
It's been big cap tech, and it still is. Although, Frank, I'm seeing some of the smaller names starting to make a move. There's an interesting fund, which is FDM. That's Frank, D as in David, M as in Mottek, FDM. And it holds not the biggest stocks like the Teslas and the Facebooks and the Metas and that. This holds the smallest stocks. It rallied to a new 52-week high this week. I also like an ETF, an exchange-traded fund, which is GWX. This is small-cap stocks that are international. So, I'm trying to look ahead, Frank. That's what we do as speculators. We have to speculate upon a world which does not yet exist. So I'm putting a lot of money into these small-cap names. I think that even if even if the economy starts to slow, the relative inexpensive valuation of these small caps makes them buys at this level. So FDM and GWX are two that are definitely on my list. Do your own due diligence, but check out these small cap names.
Standing tall for small here today, Jonathan Honig, and it looks like you're bullish on the economy. Then normally when the small caps are rally, that's usually a positive and optimistic sign for the general economy.
Yeah, it's funny, Frank. I mean, as a technician, I don't think too much about the economy. You want to go with strong assets and avoid weak assets. And in fact, some of the strongest assets belie maybe perhaps a weakening economy. And by that, I'm talking about gold and silver. Gold hit a new all-time high this week. Ironically, the president is talking about getting inflation under control, but I still think you can buy GLD I think you can buy NEM, that's Newmont Mining. And the one I really like, I know we've talked about it before, which is PPLT. That is the ETF that tracks the precious metal platinum, And, Frank, if platinum had kept pace with inflation over the years, it should be trading about $3,000 an ounce. It's $1,500 now. So PPLT, if you're really looking to diversify, I think that's definitely one that you could put on your list.
Very interesting, and thanks for mentioning gold and silver, too, by the way. Has had a pretty big rally, not quite to its all-time high yet, but it's inching its way there, just below $43 an ounce here at the moment. I'm looking at gold at $3,680 and change, platinum at $1,402 and change. Where do you see the precious metals go from here?
The old line, Frank, is that there's no tops in a bull market. And, as long as an asset is hitting new 52-week highs, 30-day highs, 60-day highs, 90-day highs, who are we as mere mortals to say, nope, this is the top? So, it's the nature of markets is they tend to trend oftentimes much longer than even you would imagine. So as long as gold keeps ticking and hitting those new all-time highs, I hate to put price targets, but I think $4,000 an ounce is easily achievable, perhaps even this year. And looking to next year and even 2027, I think $5,000 an ounce is achievable for gold. It seems impossible, but Frank, as we've talked about, so often what we think of as being the all-time high isn't. It's just an all-time high. Wait long enough, and there'll be another one in a few days.
What would you tell Larry Ellison on the day his net worth went up $100 billion?
Well, if he's looking for someone to help him diversify, I'm open over at capitalistic.com. But I think the thing, Frank, is whether it be Larry Ellison, whether it be any of the geniuses at the Meta or Nvidia or Apple. Yes, these people become rich. These men and women become rich. Their stocks have gone to the moon. But how they've transformed our lives is even more so. Think back, 20, 25 years ago when Amazon.com was just an online bookstore, and how they've changed, how they've evolved, how they've improved life on Earth. So, whenever I get kind of down and get a little bit frustrated or maybe frustrated about the politics, think about the amazing innovations that Americans have made when it comes to technology, and not just technology, health as well. Apple announced this week, the new suite of iPhones and iProducts, a lot of things going to be focused on making us more healthy. So, the American businessman, Frank, the much maligned American businessman, despite all of the formidable obstacles, still getting it done for everyday Americans, not only with jobs, but with innovation and pushing the economy and the world writ large forward.
And speaking of innovation, Apple, as you mentioned, with their new products, didn't excite too many people initially. The stock's been bouncing around, up 4 today, up 4 and change to 234.07. What about Apple here? And a lot of talk that Apple might connect with some sort of an AI entity. I know one has been mentioned in particular recently, but what about Apple here?
Well, Apple's been a relative underperformer this year. It is actually down about 4% year to date. And, this has been the one stock to own, Frank. It's almost like, remember in the 50s, they used to say, what's good for GE is good for America. And Apple is such a ubiquitous part of our lives. Most of us look at our iPhones in the morning before we look at our spouses, our dogs, or, use the washroom or anything else. So, Apple underperforming this year, but still not too far from those all-time highs. So the thing to remember about Apple is that even if you own an S&P 500 index fund, even if you own a diversified index fund, chances are you've got a pretty big position in Apple. So I'm not fighting it. I admire the company. I admire Tim Cook and all that he's created, certainly Steve Jobs as well. But when putting new money to work, I'd much rather focus on small caps, value. BCE is a name I like very much. This is a Bell Telephone of Canada, not nowhere as innovative as Apple, but just a fraction of the cost when it comes to valuation. So BCE is kind of the anti-Apple, but I like it, and we own it over at capitalispig.com.
On there live with Jonathan Hoenig, turning now to Hollywood, and hooray for Hollywood. You're addressing Hollywood here on this on these airwaves here. We see Paramount, Skydance exploring a bid reportedly for Warner Brothers Discovery. Maybe the folks that now run Paramount CBS might end up running CNN and some other entities that are at the moment controlled by Warner Brothers Discovery, and that's been reported this week. And what about what's happening on the entertainment stocks here? Anything that's catching your attention?
Well, Frank, when I look at your Instagram feed, I mean, you are at the heart of entertainment culture in Los Angeles. Truly, to the audience, check out Frank's feed. I mean, he is with all of the stars. I believe I saw a picture of you and Larry Ellison himself today on your feed, Larry, Frank. So it's so exciting to see you hobnobbing with the wealthy, the rich and famous, the well-connected, and we're seeing, as you said, deal making in what's been a very tough business. The way I would play it actually isn't the producers or even the distributors, but the real estate. There's an asset I like, or a stock I like quite a bit, EPR, that is Entertainment Properties. The ticker symbol is EPR. It's up about 32% this year, yields 6%. And basically, Frank, this is the real estate on which theaters, movie theaters, sound stages, legitimate theaters, walk-through experiences happens. So, my sense is that even if we get a slowdown in the economy, people will always want entertainment. They're going to, go to the theaters, and EPR is the way I'd play the entertainment game.
Well, thank you for that. And also, one of my favorites on the feed is you and me here in the studio. We got to get a new picture here when you come back into the studios here. But I'm going to repost that one for the folks who want to see what we look like. So we're going to do that as a public service today before the day is over. And what about IMAX? I think you mentioned that one in the past.
Indeed, yeah. I mean, IMAX is another small cap stock, and Frank, we're so used to talking about the same small number of stocks, those large cap tech stocks for quite some time. IMAX, which is an entertainment name, it's they have the theaters and very large, and it's kind of a whole experience. The stock has made quite a move as of late, and I think if you're looking to put together a basket, IMAX is certainly one to put on your list. It's up year to date, doesn't have a lot of that fever and that herd mentality. And so check out IMAX. As I said, the stock's up 28% year to date, new 52-week high, and almost nobody talking about it. So that's always a great recipe. When something's doing well, but no one's talking about it, to me is a good buy signal.
All right. Any other specific places where you are putting money now and or taking it off the table? And what do you think is going to happen next week?
Well, volatility, I think, is guaranteed, Frank. I mean, I'm concerned about the Trump administration's willingness to take equity stakes in publicly traded companies. I'm thinking of MP Materials. I'm thinking of Intel, in which they're will be the largest shareholder. I can't help but think that extends to a valuation discount on U.S. stocks. Hasn't been the case just yet. So I think more than anything now is truly a time to have that diversified portfolio. We talk about it all the time, and it seems like a bit of a cliche, but great time to have some stocks, yes, but also some bonds, commodities, and even cash, because I think volatility is almost guaranteed for the remainder of the year, Frank, especially as we get into October. Some unsavory celebrations in October, including 1920.
Headed to SoFi Stadium? Skip the traffic and ride the Culver City Bus Line 99, the SoFi Express, your direct $2 base fare round-trip ride from the Culver City Transit Center at Westfield, Culver City. Buses run on weekend game days every 20 minutes starting 3 hours before kickoff, with return service beginning at the start of the third quarter. And guess what else? We're hiring. Join our team and help keep the community moving. Visit culvercitybus.com or call 310-253-6500 for info on your next ride to the game or maybe your next job.
Most people don't realize how much of their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions pulling details about you from public records and the internet, then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance. all backed by 24/7 U.S.-based fraud support. Other companies might just sell credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it together at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/secure. Protect yourself now at aura.com/secure.
Hey, Bruin fans, want to go behind the scenes with your favorite teams and athletes? How about getting exclusive merch and opportunities to enter sweepstakes like sideline access at the Rose Bowl? Introducing Blue and Gold Society, UCLA Athletics fan membership program created to support Bruin student athletes. Members receive benefits like exclusive gear, videos featuring insider stories, and incredible experiences courtesy of UCLA Athletics. Sign up today at blueandgoldsociety.com.
In 1987, both in October. So I think it's a good time to be liquid and to have some choices as we move into the winter months.
All right, terrific, Jonathan. Well, thank you very much for wrapping up a very important week, a very eventful week, and in many ways a sad week, as you noted, but indeed a record-shattering week. And look forward to speaking with you again very soon. We wish you a restful weekend. Jonathan Honig, Fox News and Fox Business Channel contributor. Great contributor, of course, to this program for many years. Also a portfolio manager at Capitalist Pig Hedge Fund, an author of the great book, Price is Primary, How to Profit with Any Asset in Any Market at Any Time. Jonathan Honig, always great to have you with us. Thank you very much for joining us live here this afternoon.
My great pleasure, Frank. Thank you.
Out to the freeways now on 790 KBC. Mottek On Money continues, 790 KBC. Good afternoon. It was a record-shattering week on Wall Street with the NASDAQ achieving another record high. In fact, 5 in a row now for the NASDAQ, up nearly 100 points at the closing bell today, settling at 22,141. The Dow pulling back from its all-time high, down 274 points at the closing bell today at 45,834. And the S&P 500 down 3 points, slightly below a record high here at 6,584. Taking a look at Oracle, which propelled Larry Ellison briefly to the top of the billionaires list, richest person in the world for a while, on that big rise in Oracle stock this week. It's been down a couple of days this week, down nearly 16 today, back to 292.18, and Larry Ellison has moved back down the billionaires list. Tesla, on the other hand, Elon Musk Tesla moving higher by $27 and change to $395.94. He has secured the top spot on the list of world billionaires once again. The just-merged Paramount Skydance now exploring a bid to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery, according to the Wall Street Journal, Deadline, and some other sources. Potentially more change in the entertainment landscape here in Hollywood. Larry Ellison, whose name I just mentioned, chairman and co-founder of Oracle, is one of the richest people in the world and the patriarch of the Ellison family, which led the nearly $8.5 billion deal that landed his son David Ellison Skydance Media with control of Paramount Global, including Paramount Studios and CBS. We see Paramount Skydance stock moving higher today by $1.33 at $18.79. Warner Brothers Discovery shares up nearly $3 at $18.87. Turning to the cryptos now, which we'll be focusing on in the next half hour, we see a Bitcoin above 116,000, ETH at 47.07. Doge has made a move on the upside at 28 cents. And now the latest news on 790 KBC. Mottek On Money continues now, 790 KABC. Turning now to what's happening in Washington. New push for statehood in Washington, D.C. That's come up this week. Also, the Supreme Court, we're awaiting some action here on President Trump's tariffs. President Trump's most significant economic initiative now in the hands of the U.S. Supreme Court. They have announced recently that they will fast-track whether President Trump can use emergency powers to impose sweeping tariffs worldwide. Those are making news again this week. We are seeing the U.S. Treasury pushing G7 and EU partners to impose tariffs on Chinese and Indian imports of Russian oil, for example, aimed at cutting off funding for Russia's war in Ukraine. Joining us live now to talk all about this is Grover Norquist, president of Americans for Tax Reform, America's leading taxpayer advocate, and we appreciate it. Grover, thank you very much for taking the call here this afternoon.
Absolutely. Good to be with you.
Wonderful to have you with us here. What about...
Headed to SoFi Stadium? Ride the Culver City Bus Line 99, the SoFi Express. Just $2 base fare for a round trip from Westfield, Culver City on weekend game days. We're hiring too. Learn more at culvercitybus.com or call 310-253-6500.
Hey, Bruin fans, want to go behind the scenes with your favorite teams and athletes? How about getting exclusive merch and opportunities to enter sweepstakes like sideline access at the Rose Bowl? Introducing Blue and Gold Society, UCLA Athletics fan membership program created to support Bruin student athletes. Members receive benefits like exclusive gear, videos featuring insider stories, and incredible experiences courtesy of UCLA Athletics. Sign up today at blueandgoldsociety.com.
Hi, I'm Joe Saul-Sehy, host of the Stacking Benjamins podcast.
Today, we're going to talk about what if you came across $50,000? What would you do?
Put it into a tax-advantaged retirement account.
The mortgage, that's what we do.
Make a down payment on a home.
Something nice.
Buying a vehicle.
A separate bucket for this addition that we're adding.
$50,000, I'll buy a new podcast.
You'll buy new friends. And we're done. Thanks for playing, everybody. We're out of here.
Stacking Benjamins. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
This talk here, people pushing for Washington, D.C. to become a state, is that going to happen anytime soon?
The answer to that is no, for several reasons. The most important one is that it's not constitutional. It would require a change in the U.S. Constitution. The Washington, D.C. was set up specifically to not be a state. They did not want the capital to be New York or Philadelphia, something that would give extra power, authority to any one of the states. They wanted it outside of the 13 states, and that's what they did. They took out from Virginia and out from Maryland a 10 by 10 square area, which was largely swampland. It was not set up to be a city for people to live in. It was to be the city that was where the government was. And the advocates of D.C. statehood have run around in the past and said, well, we don't get to vote in presidential elections and have two senators. Well, they do vote in presidential elections. We don't get to have two senators and a congressman. That's what they really want. And they say, we have to have those because we get taxed. Well, there is a solution to that. Jack Kemp and other Republicans back in the 80s said, here's what we do. We pass a law. We say in Washington, D.C., if you live there, you do not pay federal income taxes. Puerto Rico doesn't pay federal income taxes. Guam doesn't. American Samoa doesn't. If you're not a state, you don't pay federal income taxes. So we can fix that problem for you. The Democrats said, no, we didn't really care about the taxes. We just wanted the two senators. And so the problem is when you fib about what you want and then they offer to solve your problem and you come back and say, that's not really what I wanted, you kind of lose credibility.
President Trump, I see, recently slammed the push for D.C. statehood, calling it ridiculous and unacceptable. You're in the Washington, D.C. area, right? And you've seen the changes there since the crackdown on crime. What is the situation there now?
Well, crime has gone down, and there has been a problem in D.C. It's a lot dishonest when some politicians, usually congressmen and senators who live in other places, say, oh, there's no crime problem in D.C. I live in D.C. There's a crime problem in D.C. Murder, robberies, all of that stuff. It is not good. It has gotten bad, and it needs to be fixed. And the fact that the Democrats are playing politics with that is not a good look, and I think is not going to help. Now, don't cry for Washington, D.C. Average family, per capita income in D.C. is $108,000. Per capita income in D.C., $108,000. It's compared to $73,000 for the rest of the country.
Very interesting.
So you have a situation where they have no oil wells, no factories, and they're richer than the rest of the country.
Very interesting. On the line with Grover Norquist, president of Americans for Tax Reform. Any indication when the Supreme Court will be taking up the very important issue on President Trump's tariffs?
I assume it will be sooner rather than later. They've sort of said that. It is a clear constitutional question. The Constitution says who can and cannot levy taxes. I am surprised that they haven't moved faster. But they've also given the president like another month into October. So the tariffs can be raised until October while they decide. So it doesn't shut the tariffs down unless things change in October with a different decision by the Supreme Court.
All right, a lot riding on that, of course, and we'll keep an open line to you on any developments there. You're still in the afterglow of the big, beautiful bill. What's being talked about there in Washington about that and some sort of rebranding that we've been hearing about?
Well, one of the things they found is people didn't fully understand what was in the bill. That happened last time as well. The establishment press doesn't like to tell you what's in the bill. They like to say they don't like the bill. And if you focus on telling the American people that we stopped a $4 trillion tax increase, they love the bill. If you say it's got this tax cut and this tax cut and this tax cut, their eyes glaze over because a lot of the tax cuts are particularly important for businesses that do investing and create jobs. But if that's not the world you live in, you don't maybe pay that much attention to it. But avoiding a $4 trillion tax increase over the next 10 years and every 10 years out in the future is an extremely popular position. So the more the congressman that went home in August explain the bill to people, the more popular it gets. There will be at least one more bill, another reconciliation package, and that will include indexing capital gains for inflation. So you no longer pay capital gains on inflation when you pay capital gains on your home or a farm or stocks or a small business.
Very interesting. So titles do make a big difference. Calling these bills one thing or another can certainly influence public opinion. You reminded me when, remember back in the day, people were for the Affordable Care Act, but against Obamacare, for example.
And the Affordable Care Act made care less affordable.
Right. So there are a lot of misnomers out there, too. What are they going to be calling the big, beautiful bill now?
They're taking the middle class tax reduction. So it's a fine name. I haven't yet learned it. I assume it may change again. But I just got my arms around big, beautiful bill. And it is a very important collection of tax reductions on every single American who pays taxes. Every American who pays taxes will see their taxes go down.
That's wonderful news. Grover Norquist, president of Americans for Tax Reform, America's leading taxpayer advocate, has been doing this for many, many years. And thank you very much for that important update this afternoon live with us here on 790 KBC.
Thank you, Frank.
Mottek On Money continues, 790 KBC. A lot to talk about in the crypto world this week. WorldCoin has entered into our vocabulary. Also, shares of Gemini space station rallying today after the exchange operator raised $425 million in an initial public offering. We've been watching Bitcoin rise here toward the end of the week, above 116,000. Joining us live now is crypto expert Eleanor Terrett, business journalist and co-host of the Crypto in America podcast. Eleanor, thank you very much for joining us live here this afternoon.
Hey, Frank. Thanks for having me.
All right. You've been covering all of these stories and more. Give us an update on the big news in the crypto world this week.
Well, that's right. Gemini, let's talk about that first. It made a splash in its Wall Street debut today, Frank. Well, let's talk about the co-founders real fast. I mean, we all know who they are, of course, right? The Winklevoss twins, Tyler and Cameron of Facebook fame. They've been building this company, Gemini, for over a decade now, so it's a big, big milestone for them. Shares of Gemini Crypto Exchange, they jumped more than 32% at the open on the NASDAQ today, giving the company a $4.4 billion valuation. The stock was priced at $28 a share last night. It actually opened at $37, and it closed the day up 14% at $32. NASDAQ itself actually boosted Gemini's credibility today with a $50 million strategic investment in the firm itself. The debut added a wave of crypto firms powering the rebound in the IPO market too. Rival exchange Bullish and blockchain lender Figure both scored blockbuster launches in recent weeks. And Frank, we see another big one coming soon as well. U.S. crypto exchange Kraken. It's the second largest crypto exchange behind Coinbase. It's eyeing a possible listing in the first half of 2026. So we have that to look forward to as well. And I'm sure probably between now and then we'll see a couple more crypto firms come to market as well, because let me tell you, the crypto IPO market is hot right now.
Right, as is the entire IPO market with so many popping these days. And then there's the Tether news also. What do we need to know about that?
That's right. So Tether is another big story. The world's largest stablecoin company It's rolling out a brand new token here in the United States. It's designed for financial institutions. It'll operate under the new Genius regulatory framework passed this July, which you and I have discussed a couple times on the show. Tether also named Bo Hines, the former executive director of the White House Crypto Council, as its new CEO of the initiative, not of the entire Tether operation. It's bringing in some heavyweight partners as well. Think Cantor Fitzgerald, once led by the former Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, and also Anchorage Digital. It's a crypto custody firm. Now, it's a remarkable turn for Tether because it was long viewed by regulators as sort of an outsider. It was branded by the crypto world as well as regulators and lawmakers as sort of the go-to crypto for illicit finance, for illicit, kind of criminal activity. But in recent years, it's cleaned up its act. It's forged a close relationship with Cantor, actually through Howard himself, through Howard Lutnick, and it's won favor with the Trump administration, particularly when Lutnick took over the Commerce Secretary job. And here's the kicker, Frank. Tether holds roughly $127 billion in U.S. Treasuries. That's actually how they back their USDT stablecoin, or at least in part. So it makes it a major backer of the U.S. economy, which they are also pouring money back into, and through a lot of strategic investments here in the U.S. So not only are they coming back onshore, they're actually opening up their headquarters here in North Carolina for this new domestic stablecoin and bringing a lot of investment back here into the United States economy. So an interesting one to watch because they were so sort of vilified for a long time here in the United States, but coming back under U.S. jurisdiction here under the Genius Act, it'll be a story to watch for quite some time to come.
On the line with Eleanor Terrett, co-host of the Crypto in America podcast, business journalist and crypto expert. 8Go Holdings getting a lot of attention. They changed their ticker symbol on Wall Street this week. And also, this is a company that's involved in another crypto treasury strategy involving WorldCoin, which burst onto the scene this week. Tell us what we need to know about that one.
Oh, man. Well, WorldCoin, it's a crypto project. It was founded in 2019 by Sam Altman, who's also the CEO of OpenAI. It's aiming, I believe, to create sort of a global digital identity system, right, through biometric verification. I think it's through your iris. So it's kind of one of those things. I remember when it actually came onto the scene, a couple years ago, and everybody was very sort of skeptical of it. It's like, oh, it scans your iris. That's actually pretty, that's a little intimidating. I don't know if I want to put my biometrics of my eyeball, out into the world, but it seems to be, really taking off as part of this new sort of digital asset treasury company, which, believe it or not, have become, the next hot thing on Wall Street. Wall Street, yes, but also the crypto scene as well. These DApps, as they're called for short, these digital asset treasury companies. And it's all kind of been inspired by Michael Saylor, right? Because, Strategy itself is a digital asset treasury company. He kind of hoards Bitcoin, right? That's sort of the underlying ethos for his company. And WorldCoin is kind of doing a similar thing here. You've got Tom Lee doing the same thing with his Ethereum company. And it's really the next hot thing on Wall Street. So we'll see kind of how this turns out. I know there's a few skeptical people who are, kind of looking at this and saying, is this, you keep buying and buying and buying these cryptocurrencies and you're holding them for a long time, and kind of what is the sort of end game here? How is this going to end up? What's the value proposition? And we've had a couple people on our podcast, who we asked this question to, what's kind of the outcome going to be here? And so, we asked this question to a lot of people. I don't know the answer. It'll be interesting to see the outcome there. But yeah, digital asset treasury companies are really the next hot thing. So keep an eye on those.
Absolutely. So 8Go Holdings changing its ticker symbol to Orbs. We had Dan Ives on the show earlier this week, who serves as chair now of this entity, and he's promised to verify if I'm human or not with whatever he's going to bring here next time he's in L.A. So we did see that stock move a bit higher today to 1562. Let's get to the prices of cryptos here, which a lot of people are very interested in, and Bitcoin rallying here, looks like pulling back now about 700 at last check, just above 116,000. ETH is back above 4,700, and Doge looks like it had a good week, up to 28 cents. What are your thoughts here on the price action this week?
Yeah, so Bitcoin's back on the move. Like you said, pulling back a little bit, but topping 116,000, which I believe is the highest level since late August. That surge, from what I understand, is coming as There's some major inflows from those Bitcoin spot ETFs. They pulled in more than $750 million on Wednesday. Those are some of the biggest flows we've seen in 8 weeks. So that's bringing September's total to nearly $1.5 billion. Think those, BlackRock ETFs, BlackRock's iShares. Analysts say the rally was fueled by upbeat inflation data, as you know, and you cover this frequently, but the growing bets on a Fed rate cut next week will obviously be all eyes on the Fed. And
Absolutely, Eleanor. Thank you very much for that thorough update, as always. I look forward to speaking with you again very soon. In the meantime, we'll be checking out the Crypto in America podcast. That's Eleanor Terrett, business journalist and co-host of the Crypto in America podcast, live with us here on Mottek On Money on 790 KABC, wrapping up a mixed finish to a winning week and record-shattering week on Wall Street, with the Dow down 274 at the closing bell, the S&P 500 down 3, both off record highs, the NASDAQ up 98 to an all-time high. We'll be back again Monday at 4 here on Mottek On Money, 790 KABC.
Headed to SoFi Stadium? Skip the traffic and ride the Culver City Bus Line 99, the SoFi Express, your direct $2 base fare round-trip ride from the Culver City Transit Center at Westfield, Culver City. Buses run on weekend game days every 20 minutes starting 3 hours before kickoff, with return service beginning at the start of the third quarter. And guess what else? We're hiring. Join our team and help keep the community moving. Visit culvercitybus.com or call 310-253-6500 for info on your next ride to the game or maybe your next job.